Okay, let's move on to Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. What were your highlights here?
Yeah, this was another pretty sweet one. That like skin scan technology off the bat when they're like going to the skincare place and they have like this like Mission Impossible set up. That shit's so fake. I love it though.
Yeah.
It's just so funny to me. Also how Lisa's just like talking all lightheartedly about like how she was like banned for life from her like previous like spray tan place or whatever, like in front of the employees at the place where she's going to for the first time. And you could just imagine those employees just being like, oh fuck, like who did we just take on as a client? She's like, yeah, they banned me for life from the other place, so that's why I'm here. Lisa's so funny. What else? I always gotta dig back into the memories when we do Salt Lake City. It's so long ago.
Yeah.
Mary's just one of the most antisocial people I've ever seen on TV. It's hilarious. Every fucking thing she says to somebody is like, wow, you eat a lot.
Yeah.
Like, hey, what were you thinking with that necklace? Just like that's all she ever says. It's just like, and everybody's just like, okay, thanks, Mary. Great to have you with us.
I love the power of Mary though, like the fact that she, criticizes Heather for this necklace, and like Heather feels the need to like justify it and try to like sell this decision to Mary.
Yeah.
Like she feels like it's like, oh, I've got to like really sell this, and Mary's just like, no, you really missed with that one. That was...
Yeah, like nothing you're going to say, Heather, is going to make Mary go like, yeah, you're right. It's not too bad. No, like don't bother trying. Like with Monica too, Monica like wants to be Mary's friend. Like she says that in this episode. It's like, that's not gonna happen, Monica. You don't have to. When she's like, wow, you just eat a lot, don't you? You don't have to be like, yeah, I guess I'm hungry. No, she's just gonna respond with, do you like pay attention to what you're eating?
Yeah. I hope there's a vegetable in there.
Yeah. I could use Mary in all of these shows. Every episode of every Housewives show could use Mary just being there and refusing to be anybody's friend or say anything remotely polite or nice to anybody. It's great.
What other highlights did you have?
What other highlights did I have? Angie still just being hilarious with the way that she has one character note that she's Greek, still doing that thing where people would just like trying to open a champagne bottle. And she's like, I don't know how to do this. I only drink ouzo. They're like good dance or something, and she's like, I only do Greek dances. Like, okay, yeah, we know what country your nationality is. Thank you. Ski shots is really stupid. That's a terrible way to do shots. All ways to do shots are terrible, but that's a terrible way. Man, what else happened this episode?
So one of my highlights was the scene that we got between Whitney and Monica where they have lunch, and I just really like the dynamic that we saw between Whitney and Monica. It was like, on one hand, it was like Whitney sort of trying to play a little bit of like housewife mentorship, but towards the end of this episode, it seems clear to me that she's trying to build a faction, and she's got like the people that she's trying to build a faction with include Lisa and Monica, and it's not going to work for her if they are like at odds with each other. So this is like a little bit of gamesmanship, and through doing our podcast, I've kind of like come to realize some traits that like I really love seeing in a housewife. And one of the main ones is someone who isn't like perceived as a strategic housewife, but I feel strongly is, like Whitney or Gina. I feel like they're very strong at the kind of game of it all. And so I thought we got to see gameplay from Whitney at this lunch that I really enjoyed. So that would have been like one of the standouts for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of gamesmanship from Whitney, to a point where it feels very like business-like. I feel like with her lunch with Monica, when she's like using expressions like, "I'm just wondering if I want to invest time in the sort of friendship," where like just using like very like business-oriented language regarding her developing relationship with Monica. Um, which I always just kind of curdle when somebody's like, "Hey, I'm your friend, and I'm going to speak to you like we're like maximizing our time for efficiency." It is impressive that Whitney kind of gets Monica to dish about Meredith's rumors concerning Angie's husband, that she like actually
Oh yeah.
that
That
she actually kind of gets Monica on board with doing some of the dirty work was sort of impressive.
that was so funny the way that she handled this, because she was like not delicate about that at all. She was
Yeah.
like, it was very like clear. Like Monica's like, "Oh, you haven't heard, really? Like, I feel like everybody has heard. Everyone knows what it is." And Whitney's like clearly trying to get her to say it on camera. Like, "No, I haven't heard. All I know is that there's are rumors."
I just feel like if somebody knew, I wish they would say something. Yeah.
Like, she got it to a point where she had enough like um just enough deniability in the situation where she can be like, "Well, as soon as I heard, I came and I told you about this." And like she had like clean hands in the situation, so she got on camera like learning about the information and immediately like turning it loose, which like, yes, you're gonna get blood on your hands for releasing this information no matter what. But like the fact that she is able to do it in a single like bound, she doesn't have that stigma about like holding on to the information and using it strategically. Even if that's actually what happened, she's got out there that she learned about it, she dealt with it right away. It adds to her like to her story of being, kind of a truthful and good friend, and like doing what's best, even if it is, it's bullshit, and it's something that she's architecting.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely cannot wait to see what happens after, now that we get another presumably supercharged Angie Meredith confrontation, because the last one was so good. So I can't wait to
Yeah.
see that again. Plus, I think Angie's gonna like start like shooting laser beams out of her visor at Meredith, so that's gonna be cool.
I love Angie's sunglasses, and I, as a Star Trek fan, I was very happy to see the Geordie LaForge look that we got. That was
Totally.
excellent. What's a more Greek Geordie Philopoulos, or I don't know. Yeah. Any other highlights from Salt Lake City?
Nothing that's really springing to mind. I'm mostly just like really excited for the next one.
Yeah, this really set things up for next week.
Hmm.
There were a few other moments that I had written down. I loved, you kind of mentioned the Mary's comments about Monica eating, but we got a really great montage of that from the editors. I love that. Um, there was a really weird edit of, I think, Lisa yelling, "Yo, give us a beat," to the DJ, which was really
Right.
funny to cue up the dance party.
Yeah.
And then we got a fight about Snoop Dogg.
Right.
So great little cameo from Snoop Dogg in this fight. Um, yeah, and then again, lots of fun sort of dialogue that takes place next to, people in customer service positions, or like, because we got both that scene that you'd mentioned where they're at the spa, but also when they're fighting right in front of the crepe station, and talking about who works hard, and Monica being like, "These guys work hard too," and then the reveal, like the zoom out to reveal that they're like right in front of the table where all the crepes are being made. It was really funny.
Yeah. I mean, she's right too. Like Monica's got a point. Like, yeah. Do you really
Yeah.
think you work harder than like the people making the crepes? I'm not sure. I also do like Lisa's line where she's like, "I work hard, and there's a byproduct of working hard, and it's called money." Like, okay, why is it a byproduct? What's the main product then?
Yeah.
Like, you just accidentally make money on the side while you're
Yeah.
like, I guess I don't know. the sense of accomplishment, I suppose, is the main product. I don't know.
Yeah, satisfaction in a job well done.
For sure, of all the important things that you're bringing to the world.
There was also the moment where they were like informing Angie, they're breaking the news to Angie, and they have a little bit of a bicker over, is it nip it in the butt or is it nip it in the bud? And it's
Yeah,
definitely bud.
it's definitely bud. A very, very common mistake, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like it's similar to champing at the bit, which is often said as chomping at the bit when it's actually champing.
Oh, that one I didn't know. So.
Yeah, it's a horse specific expression, champing.
Ah.
Yeah. Or
Okay.
another common one is saying tender hooks when it's actually tenter hooks with another T.
Oh, I don't think I've even heard that expression.
Like when you leave somebody on tenter hooks, like when you leave them in a vulnerable situation.
Oh, okay.
People always say
Yeah.
tender hooks. But I know I do always enjoy like a little like etymological aside in the middle of like a high tension argument. That was really good. That was really good work by, I think that was Monica who just
Yeah,
points
I
it
think
out,
so,
right?
yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, I also had a note about, we're seeing a little bit more of Angie's house, and it is so sterile. Like it looks like a lab in a science fiction movie, like a cheap science fiction movie on like Sci-Fi Network. Everything is all white, with the one exception being this like massive shelf full of blue ribbons in her daughter Electra's room, with a bunch
Right.
of like horse
Bunch of horses.
statues.
Yeah. It's a sci-fi lab where they manufacture Greek beards.
Yeah, any other highlights from Salt Lake City?
That's about it for this week, I think.
Okay, let's go and give these girls ratings as well. Let's start with Lisa.
Classic, yeah. She's funny. She's iconic. Very unself-aware and very just. It just has great lines. So I give her. Well, let's go with a 8.
Okay, that's in line with me. Meredith.
I feel like we didn't. Do we get a lot of Meredith in this episode? I feel like we didn't get too much.
We
What
didn't
did she
get a
do
ton.
this episode? Yeah, I mean,
So she's just kind of meandering about the party, and that's about all that we saw.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure she'll give us lots of great shit next episode, but for what we see here, since I don't really even remember much of her, let's just say 5, straight down the middle.
Okay, I gave her a 7, which I think is maybe a bit high in retrospect, but I awarded above a 5, and I'm going to justify this mark a little bit. But as soon as we knew that these rumors were a thing, she was like a source of tension, even if it was indirectly. Like she was the gun that was waiting to go off in this episode that we're going to see next. So I might adjust this to be a 6 because you're right, we didn't really see that much, but yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm excited that she's in the room. It was like gave me a buzz. So
she's Chekovs gun in this episode.
Exactly. Whitney.
She did a lot. A lot of conniving, a lot of scheming. Interested with her stuff with her daughters too. Actually, that was kind of not too bad. She seems to almost want her daughter's bullying to be worse than it is. Like she seems to be more worried about it than they are, in a way that she wants to almost
that was
manifest it.
Heather, right? Heather.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah. Sorry. I'm getting my shit mixed up. Yeah, you're right. What was there was Whitney was making some reference to her past though.
Yeah, so she was talking about some like trauma that she's got in the past that hasn't been clear what exactly.
Okay, I was going to ask you about that because she seemed to almost be insinuating that she was like abused as a child or something, and I was wondering if that's something that she's talked about in previous episodes or not.
She has talked about that on previous seasons, but it's always been just kind of insinuated that there was abuse when she was a child.
Okay. Yeah. I do appreciate her working hard. I feel she leaves me a little cold a little bit because, like I said, I find it a little too like nakedly businesslike in some senses. Like just not genuinely emotional. It just feels like very like calculating, like very strategic. Um, I'll give it a 6 because there's definitely a lot that she's doing, and I appreciate that she's bringing a lot to the episode.
Okay. Yeah, I gave her a 9 because I really don't care that it's so naked gamesmanship. I think that the show has enough texture that it doesn't feel like I'm watching a game. It still feels like someone kind of being strategic in how they're managing a truly social situation as opposed to trying to navigate a game, which is one of the things that makes Housewives more fun than watching an actual game like Big Brother. It's
Yeah.
like there isn't an end game. It is all just, it's all just positioning. It's all the
Mhm.
just the like the meat of it. So yeah, I gave her a 9 here because we got to see a lot of it. We got to see her like really managing a new housewife, which was something that was fun to see this last season on New Jersey as well, where we got Rachel and Danielle, and specifically Danielle being kind of like manipulated by Teresa and Jen. That was very compelling to watch, and I was getting a bit of that in the dynamic between Whitney and Monica. So yeah, this was a good episode for Whitney in my books.
Yeah.
How about Monica?
Um, hmm. Yeah, I've been waffling a little bit about Monica. I liked her a lot at the start. I think she's been making some dubious decisions in terms of alliances, but I did like her in this episode. I do like her still kind of standing up to Lisa. Um, uh, Mixing it up with with Whitney in terms of the information about Angie. She's getting her hands dirty. Yeah, it's pretty good. Let's say a 7. There's still a lot of goodwill that I have towards Monica as a character, and bringing something
Uh,
different to the show than what other characters have.
Yeah, I gave her an 8. Yeah, similarly, I think like there's room for an improvement there, but still she's very likable, and um even if she was having her strings pulled a little bit to be active here, I thought that it was still fun to see, and we got like a a good little scrap with her and Lisa at the in front of the crepe table. I think that like Monica and Lisa's story this episode are so like um inextricably tied to each other that
Hmm.
I gave Lisa an 8. I'm going to give Monica an 8. I feel like they both deserve
Yeah, it's fair.
that. Heather.
There, yeah. So we did have Heather's conversation with her kids, which was kind of interesting. And yeah, mostly just that scene, which is kind of neat to me as just a glimpse into Heather's kind of a bit of a persecution complex. I don't want to call it a persecution complex because I don't want to like minimize the fact that like separating from the church that was her whole life
Yeah.
was surely definitely a very difficult thing to do, and probably remains a difficult thing to do since that was such a part of her identity presumably for like her whole childhood and everything. So I don't want to call it a complex too much, because it sounds like I'm making light of it. But it gives us a bit of more of a glimpse into her psychology too, and I think that's a big part reason of why she operates the way she does is like just still feeling that there's something in her, even if nobody outside of her is necessarily uh, is even persecuting her, and maybe there are, I don't know, but inside of her she's always going to have that Mormon that's criticizing herself, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of motivating her. So I enjoy these little glimpses of Heather's psychology. So in terms of like what she did involving other characters, not much in this episode, I don't think. But in terms of giving us a little bit more glimpses into her and how she works, um, kind of neat. I'll just say 6.
Okay, I gave her a 3. I agree that the conversation that we got with her daughters added some texture and was somewhat interesting, but also I didn't really buy it as like all that authentic. Like I felt like she was very much fishing for a storyline from her daughters. Like she was looking for them to be like, yeah, we're being bullied by this, and like because she had already, we got a clip of her telling people that her kids are being bullied, and when her daughters are like, oh yeah, it's really no big deal, I laugh along with them, and
Yeah.
really kind of like gutted that. And she was like, oh no, like this is a big deal, come on girls,
Yeah.
this is a big deal.
Yeah, even the way the conversation starts, she's like, "How are things at school?"
Hmm.
"Fine." Really? With all the bullying?"
Yeah. Yeah, and Angie.
Um, she looks like the coolest henchman in a sci-fi action movie from 1983, so, 8.
Yeah, I gave her a 7. I think that we didn't see a whole lot out of her, but it's queuing up for a big brawl. Yeah,
Mhm.
looking forward to what happens.